You've caught me standing here admiring one of the sights of Amsterdam. In fact, I would go so far as to say it's one of the cultural jewels of Western Europe. It's this house just here. This house was presumably fairly unexceptional, ordinary for most of its life, most of its many hundreds of years, until 1971, when this house, come back to me, when this house starred in the James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever. Now it was here that the key sequence in the film took place. Bond is posing as the jewel smuggler Peter Franks, and he arrives at this house to meet his contact Tiffany Case. However, the real Peter Franks has escaped and is on his way also to meet Tiffany Case. This creates a problem for James Bond, who obviously doesn't want the real Peter Franks to find him there. Anyway, to cut a long story short, there's an enormous fight. A fire extinguisher gets let off. Tiffany Case appears in various skimpy outfits. Bond persuades her that he has actually killed himself. It's a masterpiece of cinema, and it all took place here, except of course it didn't. It took place back in Pinewood, but the exteriors were here, and that's why it means so much to me, and that's why I've dragged Robert along here this morning, this lovely morning, to indulge my obsession. But I think, and I would hope that you would agree, that it's more than worth it. Let's have one last look at that lovely house. Isn't it gorgeous? Can't you just feel the film history there? Especially the way all that graffiti is, just adds so much to the experience. Okay, well we're going off now to find another location. Yes, there's two! There are two locations in this wonderful city. Let's see what we can find. Here we are at the other key Bond location in Amsterdam, the Skinny Bridge. So called because the two sisters who tried to build the bridge ran out of money and couldn't complete the crossing, hence that bit in the middle. Now that is a historical fact that I know purely from Diamonds Are Forever. Whether it's true or not, I haven't the faintest idea, but in a way that's not quite the point, because the point is it was in the film, and it occurs during one of the film's many memorable sequences. Yes, there are more than one, and in this instance the bridge forms the backdrop for a sequence where we see the body of an elderly woman being pulled from the river. It's quite a grisly scene, accentuated by the fact that a group of tourists are passing down the river in a boat at the same time. And rather melodramatically, the tour guide on the boat tells the tourists to look casually to your left and you'll see, oh, and there's an old woman being pulled from the river. Now she's being pulled from the river for a multitude of reasons, chief of which being she's dead, but it's another crucial plot point in an amazingly plot-rich film. Now, I think that's more or less it in terms of Amsterdam and James Bond. A lot of stuff, as I said, happened back at Pinewood, but they came over here to make good use of these wonderful, evocative landscapes, rich in dramatic potential. And I realise that I sound utterly pretentious and dizzyingly boring, so I shall, alright, stop nodding your head. It's not your job to pass judgment. I'll leave you with one last lingering shot of this wonderful facade and see if you can spot the elderly woman, Mrs. Whistler, that's her name, being pulled out of the canal just the other side of the bridge. What a charming sentiment to end on.